interesting for me to share some of these things, and you can certainly write these down. I'm gonna tell you the questions I've been thinking about. You can write these down. You can try to answer these yourself, because I think if you find the answers to these questions, it might help you become more focused over the course of the day. So that was the first one. The next one I've been thinking about is how do I control and manage my time so that I can work on the right things in the right order, right? We have unlimited time right now, and it's up to us to fill that time with important things, right? So how am I managing my time so I can work on the right things in the right order, right? Certainly I could sit around and watch TV all day. I can watch the news all day, but those wouldn't be the right things to move my guiding question in the beginning along a little faster. My next question that I pose to you is, what does success look like to you once we are out of quarantine? So we get out of quarantine, let's say in a couple weeks, in a month, a couple months, whatever that is. When you look back on your time in quarantine, however long that is, will you feel like you had a successful month, or will March and April basically be wiped out from your calendar, right? Where you literally have accomplished nothing and you hadn't had any success. So what will success look like to you when we're through this? What will your new routines be when we come out of this? What new skills will you have? What new skills will you have learned? And what will your new priorities be? Now, for some of you, your priorities when you get out of this may not have shifted. They might be exactly what they were when you came into this. And for some of you, you may have really sat down and had a chance to think about what your priorities will be. And you have a new set of priorities when we get out of this, and that's okay. And those priorities might be things you need to put in priority for work. That might be a shifting of your priorities where maybe you didn't put enough family time or personal time ahead of everything else. And maybe that becomes your new priority. So I just wanted to pose that question. My next question, this is an interesting one that I ask myself. If things never went back to normal and we were stuck like this forever, what do you wish you had done in your life that you always talked about, but you never did, right? So what are your regrets? What regrets did you not do prior to this time if we just get stuck like this forever? And then the next part of that is, what's the plan to do those things when we're out of quarantine, right? Because nobody expects us to be like this forever. So once you understand what those regrets are, what's the plan to actually put those things in action once we are back to normal? Next question. What will you start to say no to more often so you can say yes to your new priorities, right? So now you've set your new priorities. You have a new guiding list of priorities, and obviously you have to put them in order, right? Because you shouldn't really go to the next priority until you knock off the one above that. But in order to do that, you're going to have to say you're going to have to say no to certain things. So what will you start to say no to more often so you can say yes to your new priorities? And then my last question, and then I'm going to flip it over to Jeremy to introduce Jarel and Howard. My last question is, what are you doing every day to ensure you will position yourself to come out on top when this is all over? Because I can promise you, if you're not doing certain things every day to put yourself in the best position for success when this is over, you're going to be starting from a much further behind position than the people that are being more purposeful during this time, that are coming up with a plan, that are working on their priorities, that are working on their business, that are working on their personal life so they can really get ahead and take off like a rocket ship with the momentum they have going when this is over. So think about those questions, ponder them a little bit. We're going to talk about some really cool, actually, it's not that cool. We're just going to give you an update on some things that are going on with the stimulus package. So I'm going to flip it over to Jeremy. I'll let him do the introductions, and hopefully you guys get some good value out of today. Jeremy?
Well, thanks, Noah. What's up, everybody? I'm Jeremy Bowers. Most of you know me. If you don't, I'm the CEO of KW Philly, partners with Noah in this, and excited today to have the opportunity to talk to people that work at KW Philly and people that don't. If you're at KW Philly, you know what we bring to the table, and it's the culture, the training, the support, and the technology and the money, all the different things that make us who we are as a person. If you're not with us and you want to talk to us more, just shoot me an email. You can find me on social media, Jeremy C. Bowers at KW. We get you some more info. Today, we're going to be dropping some info for you guys, and we're going to be giving out some information that if you want to get what we give out today, I'm going to do an announcement at the end of this Zoom call that you can get what Noah just talked about. We're going to get some things that Jarel has that we can send out to you. We have something that Howard gave to me that was questions from last time as answers on what you can write off as expenses. So please pay attention today. We're going to give you an information piece that you can email, and we will get that information to you after the event, okay? And I'm going to be keeping control of the Zoom group chat today. And the other thing is, one last thing, the $1 billion office, we're going to be attaching some information there to you guys too, which will be good for you. So check that out, the $1 billion office. All right, so I've been getting questions this week. Is Jarel on?
Yep.
Howard?
I'm here.
All right, so here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to open up this chat line, and I've been getting a lot of questions from people, and they've been asking me different things. I'd like you guys to, I'm going to start off with Jarel. Jarel, can you explain right now what they should be doing if they're an individual agent for a PPP plan, for the payment protection plan?
Yeah, sure. So, to be brutally honest, or straightforward rather, if you don't have payroll, it's going to be hard for you to get the PPP. They're supposed to release tomorrow an application for self-employed independent contractors, but there hasn't been too much information regarding the application process. And one of the attachments that I plan on giving you, Jeremy, that you can circulate to the group is a checklist actually from First Trust Bank in regards to everything that you need for them in regards to the underwriting process, and a lot of institutions are following suit. So in regards to, individual agents, like I said, if you don't have payroll, and like I said, keep in mind, the whole reason for this money is to be dispersed out is right now we're getting close to 7 million people being, filed for unemployment. So, the goal is, after the storm settles, to try to have as many people as possible keep their job. So, for you to qualify for the PPP without any payroll, especially if you don't have the payroll reports, it's going to be really hard for you to qualify for that loan. Now, there are other funding out there that Howard, talked about in length in regards to the economic injury disaster loan that people could qualify for. But there has been some new additions in regards to how that's capped in regards to the $10,000 advance that you can get from the loan is capped at how many employees you can have. So for instance, if you want that $10,000 advance, but you only have 3 employees, now that cap is only $3,000 that you can get from the grant.
Can you say that one more time, how that changed?
So it came out that you can apply for the economic injury disaster loan. It's a 10K grant, but that grant is capped in regards to how many employees you have. So if you only have 3 employees and you wanted the 10K grant, you only be applicable for the 3 grand.
Gotcha. Howard, what has been your take on the PPP you applying for people right now? What's been your experience? What's going on? I'm going to go back to Jarel on that.
Well, this past week they started for corporations, businesses, people with employees, started on Friday. It has been pretty much a mess. A lot of banks were not ready. A lot of banks couldn't handle the volume they received. The application came out from the SBA on Thursday night of last week at 12 o'clock, and people had used the old application. They had to switch everything over to the new application. It was kind of a wild west, everybody just rushing to try and figure things out. Some of the big banks didn't start taking applications till Monday. PNC, Wells Fargo is limited to how much they can take, and they're not taking any new customers. Some of the smaller local banks have been pushing things through. As of today, nobody's gotten any money. They're still waiting for the SBA to issue them a loan document that customers can sign. So for the past week, we've been working solely on businesses with employees. Starting Friday, they're going to allow all independent contractors, sole proprietors with no employees to apply for the PPP for themselves. So right now, there's no documentation that the banks have that specifies exactly what they're looking for independent contractors. We're supposed to bring that out supposed to start that on Friday, but I'm not sure, based on what happened with all the businesses, how soon that the individuals will start being accepted at the banks. What I would suggest is any independent contractor should reach out to the bank that they currently have an account with, go online, see what documentation they're asking for, start compiling that immediately to get ready for when they accept it.
So I was told one of my friends went to Wells. You said they're not taking anymore. I heard that. He actually went to Customers Bank, and at 4 o'clock, within about an hour, he had it taken care of. So I hear you on that with some smaller banks right now. That's happened. Jarel, have you had that same experience?
Yeah, so basically, some banks are hesitant because the Treasury basically came down and said the onus is on the banks to make sure that the applicant, is who they say they are. So, some banks, are kind of wary in regards to the underwriting process and the lack thereof of actually approving candidates. So you have smaller banks who, they want to get that money out fast, where, bigger banks, they have more laws and things in place that will prevent them to doing so. Like I said, plus, like I said, with the overall skepticism of, coming down from the Treasury, like I said, I heard that the big banks are making it a hard time.
So thank you. So Howard, I was told that the banks are getting paid a percentage for distributing this money, but the workers who are doing all the work don't even know if they're getting paid for it. The one gentleman I talked to said he got 51 applications in one day, and he still has to do his primary job of making sure the businesses are out there afloat and his businesses had to close. Are you hearing that same thing, the frustration of the people in the back end of the backup of this, or is that only, maybe a couple of situations? I'm curious.
Well, the banks make 5% on the first $300,000 loan. From $300,000 to $2 million, they make 3%. So they're making a pretty large fee. However, they've got to collect the data. And then on the back end, they got to confirm the expenses that the business pays in order to qualify for the relief, the forgiveness on the back end. Okay. The banks are really, really busy. I've talked to a lot of small banks. They've got their loan officers putting in information. But, I think, yes, they're busy. Yes, they may feel like they're taken advantage of. But the way I look at it, they've got a job. They're one of the lucky people. They're working their butts off, but their company's going to make money and they're going to continue to get a salary. So I'm not sure, how really badly I feel for them.
Yeah. So we were talking about the PPP plan. What tips would you say that you dealing with your clients right now, Howard? And then I'll go to Jarel. Would you give any agents on here that have employees, who have assistants? What tips would you give them the best way to navigate through this system? Having their 1090, their profit and loss done, having their tax return done. What tips could you give them today?
Thing I tell every client is each bank is different. Each bank, requires different information. Some need organization documents for the company, some need driver's license, some just need the payroll. So the first step is get with your bank, apply, register. A lot of the companies have pre-registration, which you do the registration, and the next day they send you an application. Without the pre-registration, you don't get the application. So first step is figure out what bank you're going to use, get to that bank, see what documentation they need. If you have a rep at a bank that you're working with, call them, ask them what documentation they need. with the PPP for the companies, every bank was different. Some required monthly financial statements, monthly payroll, some were quarterly, some were annual, some were calendar years, some were prior 12 months. Everyone's different, so we spent time doing what we thought the law required, only to find out that this bank was treating it differently, and we had to redo the client's work in order to comply with what that bank wanted.
Okay, so it depends on what bank, then what they're all asking for different things.
Everybody, there's certain basic things you're going to need to prove for what you made, health insurance, backup, set backup, what you paid. So that stuff I would start getting together now. But every bank is different, and I can't even explain how many different possibilities there are.
Okay, good. All right, so Jarel, I have a question for you. Andrew Guzmandi, our broker, asked this question. If I formed my S Corp and hired my first employee in 2019, but I haven't yet filed my 2019 taxes, he's asking this, do I need my 2019 taxes before I can apply to qualify for the PPP?
So that was what's going on, Andrew. So you have 2019, you didn't file your tax return, and what else? The employee started when?
So the employee started, if I have an S Corp and I hired my first employee in 2019, but I haven't filed my 2019 taxes, do I need to file my 2019 taxes before I can qualify for the PPP, which I think you can just do a profit and loss statement before you file your taxes?
I mean, you could do a profit and loss statement. I would highly advise, and Howard, you can speak on that he files 2019 tax return. Like I said, it's not too much language out there on it as far as it's a must, but everybody wants this money. So you want to try to set yourself up where all the bases is covered. So if you don't have a document, it wouldn't prevent you from getting the money or, draw out the process.
Okay.
So for you, Andrew, if I was you, I would file your 2019 tax return, at least have a draft that's been being put on extension. And then kind of just going off Howard, this is the best time to become best friends with your banker, banking manager, whoever. I mean, especially if somebody ever reached out to you in the past, go through your emails. I'm pretty sure as a real estate agent, most of you guys have CRM softwares. Track that conversation, see if you can leverage off that. Because like you said, every bank is different. You want to know about the process as soon as possible. Okay,
good. Howard, what do you have to say?
You do not have to file your tax return to apply.
Okay.
I wouldn't wait. Whatever you have in payroll, that's what you're going to get as the loan. So it's no advantage really to file your sub-S return. I would file right away based on what you paid in payroll and do the application right away.
So you're saying a profit and loss statement is fine?
No, don't even need that. With a sub-S, that's only going to be for individual subcontractors. A sub-S has payroll. They're able to file on their own without filing, just based on the payroll filings. You do not have to send in a tax return to do the PPP if you're a company. So on that one, I would just start doing it right now.
All right. So Brian has a question. The next question is, does it matter, Howard, if an individual does it matter if you're an individual agent, but you aren't set up in which you pay yourself a salary? Is payroll protection an option for you?
You're a sole proprietor filing Schedule C. You can file as an independent contractor. You don't need any payroll. So go for it.
So when he files, he's filing as an individual agent, and he has to have his tax returns done in that case, correct?
Well, he needs to get to the bank and ask the bank what information he needs. Some banks may say, I need your tax return done. If that's the case, you got to rush to get the filing done. They say, I just need a copy of your bank statements. That'll apply to show me what you got paid. I need a profit and loss statement. We just don't know. None of the banks have put out exactly what their requirements are for independent contractors yet.
All right. Howard, got another piggyback question for you. Piggybacking off of Andrew, if you have an S corp that you are incorporated and set up with the bank, but you never conducted your beginning of the month distribution yourself as payroll, can you request the accountant to retroactively administer those monthly distributions for 2019? Then write off the average distribution amounts of business expenses to satisfy.
I've seen one bank so far who's treating distributions as wages, but I'm not quite sure that they're treating it the right way. And until I see all the banks doing it, I would say you need to have payroll in order to qualify. Now, what you could do is you could pay a management fee maybe from the sub S to yourself, report that on a Schedule C, and use that as income to qualify.
I just got this text in, Howard. They said, and we talked about this last week, but not everybody on this call was on here last week. What's the difference between an individual agent trying to get money right now compared to an individual agent that has one assistant? Majority of people on this call, that's their situation.
Okay, if the assistant is getting a W-2, they can apply for two parts. One, based on what they paid the assistant. Two, on what the profit they made themselves. So I would include that in the same application. One part showing the employee and what they made and doing the calculation. The other part showing what they made and also doing the same calculation.
Which we know if they're a 1099 expense, you cannot do anything, correct?
Say that again. I'm sorry,
If
Jerry.
they're a 1099, if they 1099 their assistant, they cannot get that part, correct?
Correct. The assistant's got to be a W-2. If the assistant gets a 1099 and they file a Schedule C, they can apply.
Okay. Distributions from retirement. Have you guys dealt with that yet, with where people can take 100K out and pay that back?
I have not seen that one yet. I mean, I know that's in the new law. Haven't really focused on that. We've been focusing on getting people these loans.
Jarel, have you dealt with that yet or no?
So yeah, distributions from a retirement plan is not subject to the 10% penalty.
Yep.
So if you need the extra money, that's a good, that can be an avenue where you can look. So for some extra money, you don't have to worry about getting penalized for it.
Yep. It has to be paid back with over 3 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So how about the $10,000 grant? We'll go back to Howard. What are you seeing with that $10,000 grant? Is that?
I am seeing lots of people doing it and nobody's gotten anything, and I'm not sure what they're going to get. Last time I checked, there were about 3.3 million applications made. And I don't think there's any way they pay all of them $10,000 as a grant. So I think it's maybe less, it may be certain people. And I think you should do the PPP and the EIDL and count on the PPP and don't count on the EIDL, would be my guess.
Jarel, have you had any luck on the 10,000?
No, a lot of people tried. Nobody prospered yet.
Okay, good.
Just real quick, as regards to payroll, especially if somebody has somebody on is paying somebody, a lot of these payroll companies already have reports set up where you can just go and print it and it'll be ready for the application. I know for sure Shore Payroll and ADP, if you have an account with them, as soon as you log in, you should see a prompt at the top of the screen in regards to if you're applying for COVID, here's the report that you need.
Okay, cool. Next one is employer payment of student loan debt. Have either one of you guys dealt with that yet?
I
Haven't done, go ahead.
I have not.
Basically, that is saying instead of paying somebody a salary, you would pay their student debt. However, it's income. It's not income to the person receiving it, but it's still, you still have to, the business still has to lay out the money.
So the employer can pay up to $5,250 to that employee. The employee does not collect or have to pay a tax on that income to help pay down their student debt, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Individual agents, Howard, we talked about that. Is there anything else that they need to look at? Actually, this isn't a question, just came in. Unemployment compensation. What's going on there? These guys, most of the people on this phone call are 1099 agents. Are they eligible for unemployment compensation?
I've told everybody I know to apply for it. As of today, no one's gotten it. Last time I checked on Pennsylvania, it says independent contractors not available yet to collect. So sort of one of these unknowns.
Okay. Jarel?
Yeah, as far as unemployment, of course, if you was a W-2 employee, you apply through the state. But the unemployment for self-employed and contractors is actually coming from the federal government. So you probably wouldn't get no luck if you was applying on your state's website.
Okay.
But I would say, excuse me, but I would say still apply through your state because the Fed is reading that information from the state. They don't have their own unemployment platform.
Okay. Next one, qualified improvement property tax. Have you dealt with that yet, Howard? I just had a question on that.
That's more for large developers who have large buildings. It's a way that you can write off the depreciation immediately rather than depreciating it over 40 years. So that's more specific to a larger building and a larger new building that when you do your improvements.
All right, new question just came in. If a company pays a subcontractor or any party that is not a W-2 employee, then those payments have nothing to do with their company PPP plan. The independent contractor must go seek a PPP loan themselves.
Exactly.
Okay. I guess that was more of a comment. Are there any this is a question. Are there any potential issues down the line if you apply for unemployment right now that could affect you later? Do any corporations hold unemployment against you? Howard?
I guess if you collected unemployment and you got this PPP loan, that could be a problem because now you're going to use the PP money to pay yourself. And if you're getting paid, you really can't collect unemployment. But I think in this day and age, the other side of the question is nobody is going to be affected by collecting unemployment during these times. I think it's not a negative at all.
So the next question just came in. I'll go Howard. I'm going to go Jarel then too. Is if there's administrative staff on here, how do they go and get their stimulus checks personally? So they're an administrative assistant for a individual agent. How do they get theirs?
Paid 1099 or W-2.
Let's go both ways, just so they all know.
All right. So if they get paid at 1099, they need to go to online to their bank, apply for the PPP, figure out what information they need at the bank, apply, and they'll get about 20% of what they make during the year. If you're an employee, there's nothing you can do. Your employer is doing it, and they're going to get the PPP loan.
To help
Howard, one tack on to that. The 1099 comment that you made, that doesn't just go for administrative operations people that are 1099. That goes for every real estate agent that's 1099 by themselves, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So everybody out there who's gets a 1099, who doesn't have a corporation, should be filing the individual PPP application.
Yep.
Say that one more time. That's the majority of this call. So that's just, I want to make sure that they know that. Can you say it one more time?
Anybody who's a 1099 employee that files Schedule C should be applying for the PPP loan at their bank that they bank with. And the reason I say that is a lot of banks are so busy that they will only do loans with their own customers. And they will not let you apply even if you don't have a bank account.
Yep. And then your second part of what you said, just to clarify, to make sure everybody heard, if you are on a salary W-2 and your salary is under a certain amount, Howard, I'm going to let you talk about this. You're eligible for a stimulus check of $1,200 or $2,400 for families. Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Right. So number one, if you're a W-2 employee and you're laid off, you can collect unemployment. And if you're collecting unemployment, you'll get your unemployment, plus they're talking about a $600 stimulus check per week for people on unemployment. Nobody's gotten that, so don't feel like you're missing out yet. Then there's another stimulus package, $1,200 for a single person who makes under 75, up to 100, it disappears. 150,000 for a married couple, they would get $2,400 plus $500 per child.
Now, how do they get that?
That should come automatically. It's based on either your 2018 tax filing or your 2019 tax filing. Go ahead, Noah.
So if you're single, not married, you make over $75,000, there's nothing you have to do as long as you filed your 2018 taxes, right?
Correct.
Okay, nothing you need to do. That money should automatically be mailed to you, wired to you, same however you receive your tax refunds, right?
Exactly. If you normally get your refund direct deposit, it'll be direct deposit.
And if you're married and you make under 150,000, right? But above 75,000, or it doesn't matter.
Anything. You can make 60,000 married, you'll get it. It's 150, you get to 2,400, up to 200,000, it gets phased out. So if you make 201, you wouldn't get anything.
So if you're thinking about getting married, it would make sense to do it quickly so you can get the 2,400, right?
Whatever. That's probably not a good investment, Noah.
I won't comment on that.
So I just got a text in. If you are a W-2 employee and you're an assistant, the money for the PPPs to help us pay the assistants to stay in business, the employer gets the money, not the employee. We're floating this expense right now.
Correct. And the way it works is the employer gets the money as a loan. If they use the money to pay salaries and certain other operating expenses, the amount that they pay in the next 8 weeks is forgiven. The loan portion of that is forgiven. So let's say they got $50,000 loan and used $40,000 for salaries. Of the 50, 40 would be forgiven, they wouldn't owe it. And then the remaining 10,000 would be a loan at 1% interest payable back in 2 years.
Okay. All right. I got another one just came in. Jarel, can you ask how long you have to show your W-2 income on your taxes? I started in the fall, in 2018. I haven't filed my 2019 taxes yet. And I'll go to Howard.
He asked that question one more time.
Yep. How long you have to show your W-2 income on your taxes? I started in the fall of 2018. Haven't filed my 2019 taxes yet.
Well, did you get a W-2 in 2019?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if your 2018 tax return is filed, you'll still get the stimulus package. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yeah. So basically it's saying I started in fall 2018. I haven't filed my 2019 taxes. So they only started, Howard, like I was talking to you the other day, so either one you can answer. So basically if someone started in the fall of 2018, let's say October, but they haven't finished and they haven't filed their 2019 taxes, are they still eligible for the stimulus?
They'll still, if they're below 75,000 single, they'll get it based on 18.
Okay.
But let's say somebody was single, made 150,000 in 18, and then 19, they only made 60,000. They haven't filed their 2019 return with the 60, they wouldn't get a stimulus check.
That makes sense. I got one that just came in now. It's interesting. I got a couple comments, from both you guys from other people talking to people and are like, Thank you for clarifying a lot of these things, because some of these people, they're talking to other people and are getting confused or getting conflicting information from other people. The pandemic unemployment assistant for gig workers, independent contractors, does that apply for realtors with no assistance, Howard?
Same thing, unknown at this time. So I would say apply for unemployment if you're a sole proprietor and not working, and then not sure, unknown.
Jarel, have you seen a pickup in you doing the taxes and bookkeeping with agents? Are you seeing a pickup of people trying to update their bookkeeping right now? What's going on with that?
Yeah, everybody needs, everybody is trying to get organized. So, most people, is always, oh, how do I get the money? How do I get the money? But, like everybody mentioned, you need financial statements. You need to be able to show that you paid the amount that you're asking for. And, if you're just asking for that over the last 2 weeks, it's going to be hard for you to get your information together over the short time span to really get approved for the funding. Of course, all hands on deck, try to get everything you need to get together. But like you said, you need that information, whether it's now or whether it's in the future where you're looking for leverage at hand. So like I say, your business can run efficiently and you can make fast decisions. So to kind of answer your question, is not only just agents, businesses and all, if you're only having a conversation with your tax professional once a year, right?
Yep.
Most of the people in that boat are having a hard time applying because they don't have, the necessary paperwork.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got you.
And even though just to calm everybody a little bit, even though the first day to apply for an independent contractor is Friday, that's not the last day. You've got, I think, until June 30th to make the application. So you have some time. It doesn't have to be done, but everybody's afraid that they're going to run out of money, which may happen, but they're going to issue another stimulus package, I believe, after this one to add an additional amount of funds to cover everybody. So it doesn't have to be done day one. Obviously, the sooner you can do it, the better.
New question in, Howard, assuming you can get both, how do we figure out what's more advantageous, the PPP or unemployment?
Well, if you can apply for both, but you can't really accept both. The $10,000 one is a grant, and let's say you got $20,000 in the PPP. You'd have to reduce the PPP by the 10 grant that you got. So you can't really collect both, but obviously whichever one is higher is the one you're going to do.
Rich has a question here. How do you show paying yourself so the loan is forgivable?
Good question. It's a great question. I think just writing yourself a check will qualify as proof.
So dive into that a little bit deeper. So, I see what you're saying. So Rich's question, Rich, give me a thumbs up if this is your question. Over the next period of time, you have to pay that money back. You're asking, how do you write that? And Howard's saying, write a check back to yourself. Is that your question? Okay, cool. All right. So Howard, he has what, 8 weeks or 2.5, what was it? 10 weeks to pay it back? What is
The
it?
calculation's based on 2.5 months. The payback period's 8 weeks. So there's, so example, let's say you made $100,000 income. You would be entitled to 20%, $20,000, which is 2.5 months worth of salary. You can only pay yourself back 8 weeks worth of $8,300 apiece. That's $16,666. The rest has to be used for rent, utilities, loans, or you can use it for internet and phones and medical insurance. So 2.5 weeks on the front end, 2 months on the back to determine how much is forgivable and how much is not.
When does that clock start ticking?
The day you get the money.
So
I think the best thing for somebody to do once you get the money, just open a separate bank account, put that money in, and for all the qualifying expenses, just use that bank account for those expenses. Because if you take that money and if I know a lot of people was on this call, some people who I had consultations with. If you take that money and you put it into your, one of the accounts that you're already using, you start mixing funds, it's going to be a lot harder for you to prove, once they do their audit to make sure that you paid using qualified expenses. It'd just be a lot easier if you had that money in this one account and use that one account specifically for the expenses that qualify, so you can make sure everything is forgiven.
So I think we just hit a hot item, because I just got 6 text messages about that last thing that you guys just talked about. So that one seems the hottest so far today. So let's kind of go over that example again that Rich asked. Rich, great question. You're the winner of the day so far on best question. I'm not sure what your prize is, but you're the winner so far. So here's the question again. So he's the little, so that money, let's say 100 grand again, use that example again. I got multiple texts, 6, like I said, 6 on that.
Okay, so the amount of loan is based on 2.5 times your average monthly income. So on 100.
Oh, we lost Howard. We lost you, Howard.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Sorry about that, guys. So if you make $100,000, your average monthly income is $8,333. You multiply that by 2.5, which equals $20,000. Now, in addition to that, you can add any money that you put into a retirement plan, as well as any, they call it group health insurance costs. Well, let's say $20,000 for round numbers. The following 2 months, you have to use that $20,000. And also the bank is going to require documentation at the end of that 8 weeks to prove what you spent so you can get that forgiveness. So in the 2-month period, you can pay yourself, but you can only pay yourself $8,333 a month, which was that $100,000 base. So that's $16,666 of your $20,000 that would be forgiven if you just wrote yourself 2 checks of that amount. Now you want to find, if you have rent, you can reduce it. If you have medical, if you have rent, utilities, internet access, to try and get up to that $20,000 number.
So I want to clarify just a couple things you said. So you said take your average of your monthly income. You used the word income. Was it meant to say income or payroll?
Well, an independent contractor doesn't have any payroll.
Okay, so guys, this is just for independent contractors, the real estate agents on this call. That's how I do it. I just want to clarify who this is for.
Correct.
This particular one was for Rich, who's an individual agent. So now in Rich's case, Howard, $20,000, $8,333 a month times 2 months is $16,666. That difference from 20 grand to 16,000 and change is about $3,300. He has to go out and find those approved expenses that we're going to send out to you guys, what that is. And what are those, Howard? Like ballpark, what are they?
Well, it says group insurance in the code. Not sure if it's group or individual insurance for an independent contractor. Insurance is one. A SEP contribution, retirement plan is another. The utilities for your business, your cell phone, your internet access. Those are pretty much, and any loan, I guess a car loan interest would qualify also.
And if you're renting desk space or something like that, that's for your office space. Prepay that?
Absolutely. Or at least pay 2 months worth for sure.
Okay. So that's that difference in that change, that $3 grand and change. They're trying to find his expenses. I'm gonna give you guys a little secret right now. If you email events@phillykw.com, events@phillykw.com, I will send you the list of approved expenses that you guys can do what Howard's talking about right now. Second, if you send an email to events@phillykw.com, Jarel has some slides that are very useful on the accounting side and the bookkeeping side for you guys to help you guys. So we're going to dump that in there for you too. Because I am getting a decent amount of questions about, how can we get that information. Lastly, Noah said he's going to put it in nice print material, his tips at the beginning, and we'll drop that as a golden bonus. The only way you get that is you got to meet me and Noah. You got to meet us. If you don't work at KW Philly, you get it. If you don't work at KW Philly, you got to meet us. Now I'm just
why are you punishing that? That's a punishment.
All right. So checklist of qualified expenses, men. That's what we just talked about. That's great. We'll help you with that. Home office is defined. All right. So great. I got Sam's answer. Now I know who's this person with all these great responses on here. This is Sam on here, right? All right. So we're working from home. Rich, the law makes it seem like it's gross. All right. What other questions you guys have right now that we could help you out with? This is great. I didn't realize Sam was on here helping on the thread, getting some answers here for people. So, oh my gosh, everybody. We have a bonnet. We have a snowman or from Ghostbusters or something. I don't know what's going on here. We got Noah up here in a dress-up outfit.
Special guest from the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
We're having too much fun on Zoom these days. All right. So, Howard, what other tips? We talked about the PPP. We talked about unemployment. We talked about, here's another question. How long, so basically, what else do you think that we can give tips to for independent contractors from a drill aspect or a Howard aspect? Any other tips you guys think? And I'm going to call last call for questions.
I'll go first and then Howard, you can go. As far as like self-employed independent contractors, they haven't released as much information as I would like or most professionals would like in regards to that process. The application is supposed to release tomorrow. So of course there's going to be more information that releases with that. And then, we can coordinate in regards to how we want to flow that out to KW Philly. But as far as like right now, I said far from what I read and what I can tell, it's a gray area on self-employed and independent contractors. Everybody is still trying to look for more information in regards to, like I said, the process. And then, like I said, for the PPP, especially for self-employed, how does that work in regards to what's forgiven if you don't have payroll? So it's still some information that has to come out in regards to, so we can have more details so we can know how to apply it.
Okay, good. Howard?
I would say based on the experience my clients have already had, don't get discouraged with the process. Stay with it. Keep following up. If one bank turns you down, don't be discouraged. You'll find another bank. Keep with it. This is money that forgivable money is probably the best kind of loan you can get. So, and hang in there.
So last thing, Howard, and I'm going to do Jarel too. How do they get in touch with you? Can you guys, if you want to provide any service, if you have the opportunity to do it, can you give out any information if you have the capacity to do that right now? Howard or Jarel?
Well, can you just send out my email contact? It's probably the best way for myself and Sam. Both of us are available. We can answer your questions. Get it to us by email. Either we answer you by email or we'll call you up.
Jarel, is that cool if they email the list events at Philly KW and we'll get all their information?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to send you everything over as soon as we get off the call. So you'll have everything from me.
So if you guys email events at phillykw.com, you're going to get access to Howard's email, Jarel's email. Jarel does the in-house bookkeeping, accounting. Howard does accounting too. And then also you'll get a list of our upcoming Zoom meetings, which are about 10 to 15 a week, that you guys can take advantage of from a lead gen perspective, a technology perspective, a mindset perspective, an overall personal and business perspective to get us through these times. And more importantly, we're not going to stop once the market turns back to normal. And we're looking to help people right now. People are literally calling me and setting up coaching calls. Take advantage of our time right now to help you guys grow your business. And compare your income, compare your expenses, and start saving for retirement. So if this ever does happen again, you have the money aside to weather this storm. More importantly, this is what life's all about, everybody. I'm glad you guys got on today. We're here to support each and every one of you. We got to look out for each other. It's what life's about. I'm grateful for every single one of you for getting on today. And if there's anything we can help you out with, let us know. Most importantly, send that email to events@philly.kw, and we'll get that information you guys need. Sound good?